Okay, so now that we have our blockout done, now what we're going to do is we're going to start with sculpting. Or should I say creating our final rocks. Now as you might have noticed, my audio might be a little bit different again. This is once again because I have my drawing tablet in front of me, so I can't have my microphone as close. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's turn off stone pile because I want to get started with a round cliff A. It might be the most complicated one, but it also is the most useful one for learning because you will very quickly just learn everything. So we have this. All the models are still separate. I'm all totally fine with that. I'm simply going to leave it like this because it's very important to leave it in the same location. If we start moving it around and then exporting it again, it will also move around inside of Unreal. And we of course don't want that. So having this, let's go export selection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and in our exports folder, I will make a folder that I will call 2Z, which is just 2ZBrush. And just like that, I later on will also make a folder called 2M for 2Maya. So for this one, I didn't show you yet. So ZBrush only does not accept FBX, so you need OBJ export. So at least as far as I know, ZBrush still doesn't allow for FBX exports. So OBJ, and we are just going to call this the same thing. So round cliff underscore A. And that's enough, underscore A. And that is enough because it is in the 2Z folder, so I don't need to give it any more descriptions. So I'm going to go ahead and export that. And for now, I'll leave this. So I will go ahead and do this one. We'll do this one in real time. We'll do cliff edge. I think we will do most of it in real time, but we will wait a while with the stone pile because that one is a little bit more complicated to do. So let's go ahead and jump into ZBrush over here. Here we go, and this is just a brand new scene. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to import. And just copy and paste this folder to Z and just grab your round cliff A. So you want to press open. Then you want to click and drag it in, like this. But do not click anything else yet. You always first need to press edit. The reason is if you do not do that, then it will just create like a bunch of extra of these models. So there we go. Now, this time we are going to go a little bit more in depth into ZBrush because this is of course the most complicated model. However, what I'm going to do is I'm still, as you can see, the rocks, they are still quite simplistic. When you look at it the first time, it might look overwhelming with all the shapes and everything. But the technique that I am going to use, it's actually very simplistic to do. So what we are going to do is, and first of all, if you want, you can change your material over here to a basic material. It's a little bit easier to look at compared to the red clay. So I'm gonna set up my scene. First of all, let's go to Lightbox and go to brushes and just get our trim smooth border brush over here. I really need to learn how to speak. And now the next thing is that we need to increase the polygon count for these models. So as you can see over here, they are all, I'm just pressing the poly frame, they are all still very low poly and very colorful. But basically what I want to do is I want to keep them all separate. I don't want to just do a Dynamesh and throw them all into one big chunk. That comes later. I want to keep them separate. Now this is quite a bit of work. So if you go to subtools, what you can do down here is you can go to split and just do split to parts. And that will basically, and then just press, always okay is fine. And basically this will split every single tool into its own mesh. So we can see that here we have quite a bit of tools. Now a cool trick is that if you hold Alt and just click once, you can select these tools inside of your viewport like this. That will make it easier later on, but for now we basically need to go through this process. We need to select a tool. Maybe it's even easier if we just go for like a solo over here. It's like the same as isolate inside of Maya. So we select a tool and we get this one. Then if we open up the geometry tab, you want to go to Dynamesh. And I think the resolution often needs to be around like 400. And then if you press Dynamesh, yeah, 400 should be enough. So here, maybe I think I'm just going to go for like around 500. And basically what Dynamesh does is oh no, wait, I already showed you Dynamesh. So yeah, it will just remesh your map, or remesh your shape so that now we can properly do like some sculpting and whatever we want to do with this, stuff like that. So this is totally fine. Don't worry about the edges, because of course we are going to completely destroy these shapes to make them look a bit better. So we got this one, and now you basically just want to go through the process of selecting it, setting your Dynamesh to around 500, and then pressing select, or then pressing apply. There we go. So this is basically literally what I'm going to do for every single tool. So, or for every single subtool. So because of that, I'm just going to pause the camera while this is done, because these are a lot of shapes and it's just simply not worth me showing you literally doing the exact same thing over and over again. So let me just go ahead and pause the video after this one, and then by the magics of editing, it will already be done when we get back. Okay, and there we go, that's done. So now if we go outside of Solo, so now all of these meshes have like enough points. You can see over here that we are at around like 2 million for this entire mesh, which is not a lot. So now that we have done that and we are ready to do the sculpting, now what we're basically going to start with is we are just going to destroy the shapes of this mesh. So basically the goal is this. Let me just switch over to my drawing tablet. There we go. So we have our trim smooth border. So I often start with this one because it creates like the biggest cuts and shapes. We want to go ahead and set the alpha to square and set the focal shift very low. Actually, not that low. Let's go minus 98 or something like that. Now, the goal for this is we still have these shapes over here. That's good. But we cannot just make this feel like a blocky mesh. So what I tend to do first is I tend to just go one by one. So it is, by the way, if your brush is really big, it's sometimes annoying to select the mesh. So then you would need to like lower down your brush. But basically now I have this one selected. It is highlighted. It might be a bit difficult to see. But you basically just want to do this. You want to go in and just like with these cuts, just like break them up. Break up the shapes that we get, for example, something like this. Now we are going to go for something very sharp for this. It isn't once ori, so that's already fine to like create some down here. If you go for count ori, it will once again, it will like be a lot smoother. So let's go for once. So we are going to go for like some very sharp cuts in most of these pieces. So keep that in mind when we are doing this. So I'm just going to go ahead and break it up like this. And because I only need to really make whatever I can see, I don't worry about it too much. I can now just move on to the next one, like over here. And I can say, okay, so for this one, it's like a long piece, so I'm just going to place some cuts like this, and maybe sometimes like just don't worry about like really just destroying the shape. But remember, we want to go for long sharp shapes, that so without too much of like losing the shape, and still getting like these just nice wow, I'm completely misspeaking, sorry. So basically don't go too round. We just want to go for long strokes, sharp shapes. It is, I literally woke up like 10 minutes ago, so that's why my speech might be not the best yet. So basically, just do something like that, and let's just go ahead and continue. And because I'm lazy and don't want to like make my brush smaller again, I'm just changing the angle to do this. So yeah, for these ones it's always a bit tricky because they are very blocky. So we might just like want to play around with things a little bit more over here. For example, over here, like I might go to solo, and I might like just really like cut away at this stuff. Let's undo that because I want to. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. There we go. So I'm just cutting it away because I just want to keep like a little bit of like that platform. That's about it. Whoops, let's not do that. These pieces are sometimes a little bit annoying when we cut and we get something like this. If you have that, a few things that you can try. First of all, just hold shift and try to smooth it. so that you hopefully can get in and then do like something like this. Here where we can like try and like make it flat again, something like that. Or you can go here and go to count Ori, and then you can like do a little bit more of like precise flattening. But remember, we on purpose do not have a lot of polygon counts right now. So on purpose, this is all quite low poly still. But yeah, so there we go. So we get like something like this. And now I can like, yeah, it still feels like quite a bit blocky, but yeah, let's cut that out. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly go to the move tool, and I'm just going to move this up a little bit. Feel like that might look better if we move it up, then go back to the trim smooth border, and if we then place some cuts like this, see here, I feel like that looks better. And I don't always just like literally hold my mouse in. I sometimes just do like some very small taps, and that often just creates like a very nice and quick sharp surface. So for this one, let's go ahead and let's use our move tool first to just move this in here, so that the shapes later on, once we do a Dynamesh, these shapes will join together, and then we can like start sculpting away at it again. So I just want to like play around with that. So yeah, the most important thing is that we don't want to go too square with the shapes. So try to like break them up. And if you feel like that they are too square, like these pieces are easy because they're just long strokes. Like later on what we can do is like in between here we can like add some more pieces and everything. It's like these bottom pieces over here that are quite tricky. So this one is actually a big one. And I'm just gonna quickly go to solo because I can't see everything. Not going into solo, it's handy to just do like the initial cuts often. Here, and then like I think what I'm going to do is I'm first of all just gonna go ahead and just in case break up the back sides over here. And then I'm just going to move some stuff around just to like create some stronger cuts. So let's see. So we got the backside over here. Now let's go outside of sonar mode. Yeah, and I want to go to move tool. Maybe I'm just gonna go ahead and move this a little bit like that. And the goal is that when I move it so that it looks this silly, when I go now back to my 3D smooth board, it has more curves to catch up. So now when I click, see? Here it's able to like create some very sharp curves that it wasn't before because we went from square to something that's just like a lot more broken up. I think after this I will do another pass where I will just do like some planar mapping. So, or some planar sculpting, but I'll show you that after. It's another brush. Yeah, I think I need to just move this in and down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. See, that feels a little bit better if I just also cut this up. Yeah, over here, let's just go ahead and get rid of this by just sculpting in it. There we go. That feels a little bit better. Sometimes also nice to just keep like one of these cuts. We will actually place those cuts later on, specifically. But for now, I'm just worried about like the large shapes. Let's go back into solo mode. Let's start by just breaking up the edges quite a bit. Might be a bit too much. Yeah, it's just a lot of playing around with it. It's actually really fun to do. So it's quite relaxing also to just break up these edges. So I would say just like get a drink, turn on some music once you get the hang of it and just have fun. That's what I always do. Okay, so we got this. Which way can I move this? If I go to my move tool, just move this down a bit. Maybe move this in a little bit so that it's like a little bit squashed against the other rock. And I think something like that should already be enough. So let's go to solo, trim smooth border. Let's start by just cutting this away. This one. Yeah, just like these pieces. Oops, not that one. There we go, that should do the trick. Yeah, for now it's fine. So you can see that we are slowly getting something. It's not very interesting looking yet, but that's the whole fun of it, that we are going to slowly work towards that. So over here, like, starting with like some big cuts like that. Just double check that it looks like it's pretty much hidden. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go to solo, because you never know where it shows up, or now or later on when we start cutting other pieces away. So for now I'm just gonna go ahead and start by breaking up all these edges just in case we can never see them. There we go. Almost looks like part of a crystal or something like that. So we got that one. Just quickly set my brush size smaller so that I can easily select that one. Okay, so for this one, let's start with something like that, but I'm just gonna make my brush size a little bit bigger because the cuts were a little bit ugly. There we go, see? And yeah, this one is very important, so I keep looking at just the overall shape. And what I also try to do is, although now it doesn't really matter too much yet, but it's to look at the silhouette here at the top. So now it doesn't matter too much yet, but you can already see, like over here, now that we have these cuts, everything feels a little bit more mellow. So it feels a little bit more softer, I would say. And that is not always good, but we'll see how it goes. Like, this stuff is good. Like, we sometimes just have like a long straight cut, which is quite nice. Though we will need to break it up a little bit more. Oh, I'm looking at it upside down. There we go, it makes more sense. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and continue with this one. Oh, actually, you know what, I'm not gonna do that in solo mode just yet. Let's make like a cut like that. This. There we go. And then later on we're going to just have like super sharp cuts in this, and I'm talking about these ones. So if you go to like planar, here, see? Like super sharp cuts like this. And we'll just like start applying those at like some pieces. But the planar is not very good at the beginning because, as you can see, it needs something to catch on to. Like, it needs a level to catch on to. But the cool thing about planar is if you, for example, like create like a little hole here and then add a planar to like the very center, it can completely cut away the entire shape like that. So that's what we are going to later on use, just to give you like a quick sneak peek. But for now, I'm just gonna go nice and messy and just like, come on, select. Jesus, come on. Fine, I'll make my brush size smaller. Because I have no idea what this would be called inside the subtools. I didn't name this because I'm going to merge it together. Oh, it was auto-saving. Oh yeah, by the way, let's just save our scene. I think that might be a good idea. So for saving your scene... Oh no, wait, I already showed you. Just go to Save As. And we're just gonna go to Saves, Zbrush, and just call this, Round Glyph A. It should be fine, so Round Glyph A and save. There we go. So now also when we auto-save it will just save in there. Oh no, wait, sorry, auto-saving it does in a separate location for me. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna save it too much. And ZBrush is not as buggy anymore as it used to be a couple of years ago, where it just has the tendency to crash. So nowadays it's actually pretty good. So as long as you know what you're doing and you're not like adding 50 million polys to a system that can barely handle it and stuff like that, then it's just a matter of patience whenever it freezes up, and it will recover. Figured I should tell you that. Let's just... There we go, some basic cuts. Yeah, we definitely need to fill up these kind of spaces because they never look nice. But it's easier to do that when we have done a Dynamesh, so just go ahead and continue with this one. So I like the shape over here because it just creates like a cut, but I think what I want to do is I just want to move this a bit further down, which will then give me the option, if I go to solo, to create like a sharp cut like that, and probably another sharp cut like this, and maybe another one down here at the bottom. See? Yeah, there we go. That should do the trick. Okay, next one. This one. Let's do this. And who knows, maybe there are some pieces that are actually completely hidden that we don't need to really do any sculpting on later on. So for this one, let's just make my brush size a little bit smaller. And this stuff, once again, even though it's hidden, just in case, I'm just going to break up the edges, but I of course spent a lot less time on really defining where these edges are, and it's just me moving my brush over it so that it doesn't feel as perfect. There we go. So let's do this one. Oh, I'm upside down again. It's very easy for you to lose track in which axis you are looking at in ZBrush, because it's so easy to just move it all around and everything. Let's go for like a sharp, like a big cut like that. Yeah, and then the rest is just going to be fairly basic cuts. So let's do something over here. Maybe something like this, so that there stays like a large cut over there. And then here at the top it's also often important, because the top we are able to see, even though we are going to have like moss and everything on top of it. I think it's still important for us to just have that. And I actually also want to improve the top over here. Yeah, like later on inside of Unreal, I want to improve the moss that is sitting on top of it. I think that will look nice if we do that. But that's something that's way out. That's like hours and hours away from now. Because after we've done the sculpting, we first of all need to create some textures for this, and those take quite a while. And after that we need to do the optimization, UV unwrapping of it. We will quickly get it into the engine just before anything, just so that I can see the silhouette and see how it looks. Sorry, I'm not thinking right. I'm doing this in solo mode while I kind of want to see what it actually looks like. Here, sharp cut. Yeah, I think it can go a bit sharper, but we'll do that later. There we go. So, yeah, and sorry, I already forgot what I was saying before I did this. For some reason, sculpting always just takes my mind away a little bit. That I'm just really, even though it's very easy to do this kind of stuff like this, for some reason I'm still focusing on it quite a bit, to the point where it makes it hard to sometimes finish it up, because I'm just so focused on exactly where I want these cuts to be. Even though it looks easy, every cut that I am making, I am kind of like calculating, okay, how will this look in the grander aspect of things. Am I upside down? I am upside down. But yeah, over here, see? So we are starting to get like some interesting shapes. We definitely need to make them a lot more clear cut and everything, but at least it's getting there. So let's do like this big one. Oh, we are a little bit over time, so I will do the big one and then I'll close this off. So this one, sharp cut there and there. Yeah, let's do something like that, and let's now just continue with like quite mellow cuts for the rest. There we go, so I'm just breaking up the rest over here. Yeah, once we do the planar mapping, then what we get is we get to this stage where everything feels way too perfect again, because it's like perfect sharpness. But then we basically just go in, or we do the die dimension, then we go in with our trim dynamic, and then we will like just completely break things up, and then it will come together very quickly. Let me say it like that. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to save as and save my scene just as the same as before. Save. There we go. So we are slowly getting there, just creating like some base shapes. So in the next chapter we will simply continue with this.